I'm gonna do a request today. It's something I was probably gonna talk about in the future, but it would be a great time to talk about it now. The perfect PvP build. Now, a lot of people have different views on what the perfect PvP build is, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Now, note that a PvP build is different than a leveling build or a bossing build, and you have to build separately to make it optimal. Leveling builds have the luxury of using consumables like restos, and bossing builds are more DPS oriented. I'm also going to be explaining how to do this from the point of view of my level 60 warrior. Now let's look at the stats here. Now, the general idea behind a good PvP build is a good mix of offense and defense, and you want to try and get the best of both worlds. Now let's explain these. Strength will increase your damage dealt by warrior and rogue offensive skills for the most part, and it will increase damage dealt by physical attacks. Note that its effectiveness gets worse with the more points you have. So 50 to 100 is better than 1000 to 1100. Dex will always increase your attack by 1 per point and defense by 2 per point. It also increases the damage of Shadow Strike, Lifesteal, I think, Rogue skills, and all Ranger skills. Now, while Strength is good for all melee classes, Dex I would not really recommend too much. Just put a few points in if you're a Rogue using Shadow Strike or a Ranger, just for the extra skill damage, and only if you really need it. Focus is only good for casters, and is especially good for mages because it'll make your lures more effective, and we'll be talking about those strategies later on. But Vit is the best thing of all, because it gives you 6.25 health per point, and nothing's stopping that. It's the only stat out of all these that doesn't fall in effectiveness per point. Except Dex, but attack is useless if you're going to be using skills, which you probably are. And defense is only useful against autos, so I would not use those for that. So let's look at my armor here, and other gear. I took everything off, and we're going to rebuild lava and explain each part of the process. Now for lower levels, and kind of higher levels too, you have a few choices. I'm going to give you some choices for my level. Well, you got Earthstone, and we're going to talk about the BP and Pants here. It gives you damage, but it's not that much damage in the grand scheme of things. And it has low armor and no resistance. It does have evades, but I'd rather have a pure way of getting damage resistance than a chance. That's why I would rather wear shop armor over something with no armor, even if it means I lose a little bit of damage, because it's a high defensive boost. So just between those, we got 225 armor and 160 resist. Now we could wear armor giving helmets and boots, but I don't think that's worth it, because we already got a nice amount of armor from the BP and Pants, so I think we can wear this and that for some extra health, as they're not that important of slots. And especially on all melee classes, and maybe even mage too, because they have high armor and high energy and health. You wear heroic gloves. That's a nice thing to have. So as you see, we got some nice armor, health, and we got a lot more energy. Let's move on to the weapons. Obviously, we want something that's one-handed, so we can use an offhand. Now, comparing these, I could use the Ymir weapon even though it's two-handed and is really strong, but that strength requirement is really harsh. I'd rather have my points in Vit, so that's why I'm using Obsidian, because it only has a level requirement and no stat requirement. Even by itself, That's 657 damage. Now if we pair it with an offhand that grants strength, that's even more. So let's just put the trident on now, and I'll explain why I'm using a trident later. See, we got a good amount. Let's move on to jewelry. This bracelet, it's nice. We got 15 energy regen from that, and that's not enough for me. So we're going to put this on for 25 total. And it also gives resistances, and this one gives health, which I want. Now this one, there's not that many good level 50 bracelets. I mean, I could use a damage bracelet, but what's 8 damage to 205? That's like nothing, percentage wise. I'd rather have more health and more resistance. And not to mention that if I live long enough, it'll give me more than 150 health because it'll regen back. Now for the Ami, since I have 25 energy regen now, I don't need a heroic Ami, so I could substitute it for something better. Now this gives me strength, which is good for my obsidian. Vit, which is 250 health actually. That's really nice. And melee combat says I'm going to be using skills a lot. So that works for me. Charms, I could use, let's see. I have it in here somewhere. Yeah, I could use this because I do use Sweeping Blow. It'll give me 150 damage, it'll give me 20 strength. That's pretty nice. I could use a Silver Web Charm with 3 stance and 20 Vit. But I like this charm, because it gives me 30 armor, 50 health, but this Backlash Cloak deals unresistible damage. So even if somebody autos me one time, which will probably be likely because I'm that tanky, it'll be worthwhile having on. So we got that situated. So our stats are looking better. Rings, I could use some stat rings if I could find them. Oh well, but it only give me like 15 Vit, which is alright, but I want to help my damage more, because I got a lot of tanky gear on already. Now Shatter will help me lower armor, so I hit higher. So we'll put those +5 and +4 rings on, and we're going to do +9 for each skill, because that's pretty effective, 5, 4. And I know that having more of a skill makes it more effective, but this is a great balance, so I'm doing that. Rupture deals high damage and unresistible DOT, which is great for fighting tanky enemies. So we're gonna wear those. So we hit pretty hard now. 179 armor. And we got equipment, jewelry, fashion, we're pretty nice already. But pets and mounts, it's a tricky one. Now for every build, I recommend the bear mount. Even casters, because it gives Vit. The strength would be useless for casters, but this skill is OP. It's a free energy shield. And even with a tier 2 and a level 60, it blocks 270 damage. An elk would only do magic damage, and a wolf, just not worth it. Now there's the big question of dragon versus phoenix, because we know both of these are better than any normal pet. Well, the dragon has its hit and the DOT and has a shorter cooldown, and it gives rainbow stats and crit. But I'd definitely say the Phoenix is better. Why? Well, it's purely better for casters because it gives the 2 best stats they need. the damage is actually higher on the initial hit than the dragon, and duels are short usually, so that's more helpful. It reducing armor or resistance is very nice for inflicting even more damage. The fortitude and warding helps you dodge skills, and those two being the most damaging ones, that's really nice. Free resistance and resist poison, which you normally don't have, to help you with SS. So, we have all that situated. Great health, great energy, great damage, great build. But then we run into another problem. How much do you want to spend on upkeep? Well, if you use your pet, you're going to be paying for it, but you will be stronger. So you judge if that's worth it or not. And I mean, if you're going to buy a Phoenix, you might as well anyway, because it's expensive. And the skill's great, it'll help you destroy your enemies. Then there's some more things too. One question that gets tossed around a lot is, how far is cheating? Well, you can do a few things to make yourself stronger. And I'll give you a great example here. This axe. It grants a buff that boosts your strength by 70 for 30 seconds, and higher level ones are more, and there's ones for focus too. I could just cast that right before the duel and switch to Obsidian and have over 100 more damage, and that'll give me a nice 10% boost and a sizable advantage in the duel. But how would people look at that? Is that fair? Is it not? It varies between people. And I would say that that is fair, because you're buffing yourself, and it's not too bad. You also got things like kites, which can boost your health a lot, or other stats, especially if you got the good ones. Some people call that cheating, but if you ever want to take somebody out that has a kite, see, I have my kite on right there. Just cast the same tier 1, and it'll override it. See, I lost all my health. Nice technique to know. But then, here's where it starts getting cheaty. When you got people who start using combos and hastes and really unfair stuff. I mean, really, what kind of chance would you have against a psycho level 60 like this? And yeah, it can get even worse. Especially if you have damage food for your level. Casters don't have nothing for that. Let's see. How OP am I now? Yeah! Look at that. 5,000 health, 1,460 damage. I'd be surprised if like a 180 could kill me. Oh man. But yeah, people will call you out on that, definitely. So I would not suggest doing that if you're fighting for pride. And now we can go on to the class specific stuff that I promised earlier. Alright, so warriors, you definitely want to use stance. Frenzy's crap for PvP. Personally, I use a hammer and a spear because obsidian is slow, and when you use just a hammer, you go around the skills, but then you have to wait. If you switch to spear, you could use spear for everything except for rupture, make the skills take a tiny bit longer for a tiny bit of damage boost, and use skewer because skewer is very fast. Let's see. Rogues, SS damage is nice because people usually don't use poison resistance. You probably want to use sneaky, you don't want to use that auto trick from the Ymir video. Rangers, Ballast and Longshot are your friends, because Rangers are pretty squishy and not as DPS oriented as Rogues, so you want to stay away from the opponent. Druids, you can run and gun on a fast mount, just throw bees at them, vines, and run away. You also can use bark if you want to fight up close. You could even use roots if you want to lock down people. And mages, you want to have some decent focus for lore, because if your enemy has more resistance than your lore, you're not going to do full damage, and it's actually probably going to be harshly dropped on you. And it'll also help for damage shield. Now, how I'm deciding all this stuff is basically percentage wise, what would help me the most. Note that me having 350 resist slash sight and then jumping up to 700 isn't the same as 0 to 350, because armor and resist would basically the same thing. They plateau, scale off, whatever you want to call it. So this isn't a true percentage boost. Something like health is, something like direct damage is, strength isn't. But yeah, just take the best from both sides, use your best judgment, do what you can, and you'll find yourself with a wicked build. Now if there's any other suggestions for videos you want me to do, just let me know and I'll try my best to do them if I can. And I hope this was helpful to y'all.